everybody, Dr. Nick here on Feel Good Friday in the new Feel Good Friday studios, coming at you today, diving into the lunge. The lunge is a great exercise, but as always, it's not what you do, it's how you do it and why you do it. So today we're going to go over some basics about how to perform the lunge correctly, and then how changing the way you perform the lunge can actually shift the focus to different muscle groups. Let's get to it. So some general guidelines when performing a lunge. If you look at the lunge from head on, what you want to do, this is probably the most important thing of the whole exercise, is that when you come down into your lunge, you don't want your knee to drift in or drift out. You want your knee to be right in line with your foot, or more or less in line with your foot. You want those 3 points of contact of your foot touching the ground, the big toe, the little toe, and the heel, gripping that floor. And then when you come down into your lunge, you want to make sure you don't get any of this. The next cue is that you want to maintain a neutral spine from the low back all the way up to the neck. So when you go down into your lunge, you want to make sure that you're not arching your back and you're not letting your back round. Your neck, you want to make sure you're not letting your head drift forward. You want to lock in that neutral spine, shoulders down and back, chin tucked, neck straight, pelvis in a neutral position. You're going to lock that in like you're walking into a cold pool and that water is kind of drifting up on your navel. Lock that position in, tuck your chin, and then you're ready to go down into your lunge. But keep that neutral spine from the head down. So no matter what variation you do of a lunge, whether you have a barbell on your back, dumbbells in your hands, kettlebells, whatever you're using, keep those tips in mind. They're going to keep you safe. But there are ways to do the lunge to target different areas. And that's what we're going to get into right now. When you go into your lunge, if you allow your knee to drift forward over your toes, you're going to increase the angle of knee flexion, as opposed to your shin bone being more perpendicular to the floor like this. So if your knee drifts forward, you're increasing that angle of knee flexion from here to here. The more knee flexion you have, the more quad dominant the exercise is going to be, because the quads control that knee flexion and extension. If you sit back into your lunge and hinge at your hip to lean forward, my shin is about perpendicular to the floor, so there's less knee flexion than bringing the knee forward, and I'm hinging at my hip to bend my trunk forward. I'm not rounding my back forward, I'm hinging at my hip, just like a deadlift. What this is doing is it's making this exercise more hip and glute and hamstring dominant. Because just like a deadlift, when you hinge forward, you're eccentrically contracting the glutes and hamstrings and putting a greater amount of stretch on that. So just like when our knee went forward above in front of our feet and that angle of knee flexion increased and the quads increased, what we're doing by hinging forward is increasing the angle of hip flexion, because now our hip is bending more than it was when we were here. That increased hip flexion is going to recruit more glutes and hamstrings. So again, if you want to make the lunge more quad dominant, increase the degree of knee flexion and let that knee drift in front of the foot. If you want to make the lunge more glute and hamstring and hip focused, keep that shin perpendicular to the floor and then hinge forward at the hips as you descend into your lunge. If you're looking to further increase quad activation and make this exercise more quad dominant, research shows that the quads are most active compared to the hamstrings and glutes at the top portion of the lunge. So if you really just want to focus on your quads and not your hamstrings or glutes with this exercise, consider doing a shallow lunge. If you have pain when stepping forward and descending into your lunge, if you have pain down the front of your knee, first stop and go see a healthcare practitioner. But a way that you can perform the lunge to reduce that pain is reverse it. Make it a reverse lunge. So instead of stepping forward into your lunge, step back into your lunge. What that's going to do, it's going to reduce the amount of force on the knee. Because when you're coming forward, your quads and your knee have to control your body weight coming forward. Right? They have to stop you from going all the way forward, as well as control your knee bending into flexion. So they're eccentrically controlling this descent as well as controlling that forward force of your body. So if you do a reverse lunge, now you knock out that controlling of your body weight going forward, and now the quads and the knee just have to control that eccentric knee flexion. So consider trying the reverse lunge if the forward lunge gives you pain. But of course, go see a qualified healthcare practitioner first. If you want to make the lunge a little bit harder, what you can do is put a step on the ground and step onto the step with your front foot and then go into your lunge. What that's going to do, it's going to allow you to sink deeper into your lunge. It's going to increase the amount of knee flexion and increase the amount of hip flexion, as shown in this picture. So next time you do lunges, be sure to use these tips to keep you safe and make the exercise more effective. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. If you sit back into your lunge and don't bend that knee quite as much, like this, what you're doing is you're causing